You've been inside that person's home. Everything in its place. No dishes in the sink, no clothes draped over chairs, no stack of unopened mail quietly multiplying on the counter. The space feels considered lived in but ordered, and you stood there thinking the same thing most people think in that moment. How do they do this every single day? Because you've tried, you've had the intention, made the effort, reset the space, and within a few days, entropy wins again. Life happens, things pile up, and somewhere in the back of your mind you've filed the people who maintain clean homes under a category you assume you don't belong to: disciplined, organized, naturally tidy. Here's what the psychology actually says, and it's more interesting than any of those explanations. It has nothing to do with loving cleanliness. Let's be precise about this from the start. People who maintain clean spaces every day are not, as a rule, people who love cleaning. They are not waking up each morning with enthusiasm for scrubbing counters or refolding towels. Cleanliness itself is rarely the motivation. What they've discovered, often without ever consciously articulating it, is that maintaining their environment gives them something that has nothing to do with cleanliness at all. It gives them a sense of agency, a feeling of calm, a reliable signal that no matter what is happening outside the door, inside this space, things are under control. And that feeling, not the clean surfaces themselves, is what they keep coming back for. Once you understand that distinction, the behavior makes complete psychological sense. What clutter is actually doing to your brain, the relationship between your physical environment and your mental state, is not metaphorical. It's neurological. Environmental psychologists use the term cognitive load to describe the mental processing your brain performs continuously in response to your surroundings, whether or not you're consciously aware of it. Every object out of place, every unfinished task visible in your environment, every pile of things that haven't been dealt with, your brain registers all of it as open loops, unfinished business. And unfinished business is metabolically expensive. A landmark study from Princeton University's Neuroscience Institute found that physical clutter directly interferes with the brain's ability to focus. Specifically, it overloads the visual cortex and competes for neural resources, reducing the cognitive bandwidth available for everything else you're trying to do. The disorganized environment isn't just aesthetically unpleasant, it's actively making you slower, more fatigued, and more stressed throughout the day. And crucially, most people don't realize it's happening because the effect is constant rather than acute. Flip that around. When your environment is clean and ordered, your brain stops scanning for unresolved items. It's no longer allocating processing power to the background task of cataloging what needs to be done. It can, in a measurable neurological sense, rest. People who maintain clean spaces don't just have tidier homes. Research consistently shows they report thinking more clearly, feeling calmer, and experiencing less baseline mental fatigue. The identity shift that changes everything. Here's where the psychology gets particularly interesting and where most explanations of this behavior fall short. Behavioral science distinguishes between two fundamentally different motivational structures. The first is outcome-based motivation. You clean because you want a clean home. The second is identity-based motivation. You clean because you are the kind of person who keeps their home clean. The difference is not semantic. It changes everything about how sustainable the behavior is. Psychologist James Clear, building on decades of identity research, describes this as the most durable form of habit formation. When a behavior becomes attached to how a person sees themselves, not what they want to achieve, but who they believe they are, it stops requiring active motivation to sustain. You don't have to convince yourself to act in accordance with an identity you've already adopted. You simply do. People who keep clean homes every day have at some point made this internal shift. They stopped thinking of cleaning as something on their to-do list and started thinking of it as an expression of who they are. Once that transition happens, the effort feels qualitatively different, not because the tasks change, but because the self-concept driving them does. The behavioral activation effect. There's another mechanism operating here that's worth understanding on its own terms. You've probably noticed it yourself without having a name for it. The impulse to clean or reorganize when you're anxious, stressed, or emotionally overwhelmed. Most people dismiss this as avoidance, productive procrastination, a way of doing something rather than facing something. Psychologists have a different interpretation. It's called behavioral activation. The principle comes originally from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it describes the use of deliberate physical action to interrupt and redirect a dysregulated emotional state. When the nervous system is activated when anxiety, stress, or emotional overwhelm are present, remaining still tends to keep it in that state. Movement, particularly movement with a clear beginning, a clear process, and a visible end result, gives the nervous system a pathway to discharge that activation. You clean the kitchen. The dishes are done. Something in you settles. That's not coincidence, and it's not avoidance. That's the nervous system using a physical task to regulate an internal state. People who maintain clean homes daily have often discovered this connection not through research, but through experience. They've learned, usually without ever naming it, that cleaning their external space has a reliable effect on their internal one. The external order creates a felt sense of internal order, and once you've experienced that connection consistently, the behavior stops feeling like maintenance and starts feeling like self-care. The ritual of closure, there's a specific moment worth examining, one that many people who maintain clean homes describe in some form. The end of the day. You're tired. The day was full and not entirely easy. You spend 10 or 15 minutes moving through your space, wiping the counters, putting things back, leaving the environment the way you want to find it tomorrow morning. And something shifts. Neurologically, what's happening is a form of psychological closure. Your brain, which has been tracking open loops all day, receives a clear signal that the day is complete. Tasks are resolved. The environment reflects readiness for what comes next rather than residue from what just passed. The boundary between today and tomorrow is drawn in a concrete, physical way. That's not a cleaning habit. That is a mental health practice, one that happens to involve a sponge. What your environment says to you, here's the frame that ties all of this together. Your home isn't just where you live. It's a continuous ambient message you're sending to yourself about what you value, about what you believe you deserve, about the kind of life you're in the process of building or maintaining. When you walk into a clean, ordered space that you've maintained, something in your nervous system registers. I take care of things. This is taken care of. That's not a small signal. Over time, with repetition, it becomes part of how you understand yourself. When the environment is consistently chaotic, the signal reverses, not dramatically, not in a way you necessarily notice consciously, but your nervous system receives it all the same. The people who keep their homes clean every day are not a different category of human. Research does not support the idea that they're naturally more disciplined, more organized, or more motivated than people who don't. What they have is a set of beliefs about their environment, about their agency, about what they deserve to come home to, that make the behavior feel less like effort and more like expression. That shift in belief is available to anyone. And it doesn't start with a cleaning schedule. It starts with understanding what's actually driving the behavior in the first place. The practical takeaway, if you want to build this pattern, the psychology points to one starting place. Don't try to become a cleaner person. Try to become someone for whom a clean environment matters. Start with one space. Make it right. Notice how it feels, not the cleanliness, but the feeling underneath the cleanliness. The calm. The signal to your nervous system that something is handled. Hold on to that feeling, because that feeling is the mechanism. Everything else follows from there. The external order is almost beside the point. What you're actually building is a relationship between your environment and your sense of self, and once that relationship is established, maintenance becomes nearly automatic, because you don't have to convince yourself to take care of something you've decided you deserve. That's the psychology behind why some people keep their homes clean every day, and why it has almost nothing to do with discipline. If this gave you a useful frame, subscribe to Psychology Explained for more breakdowns of the science behind everyday behavior and the patterns that quietly shape how we feel.